Hey everyone, welcome back to Gamecasters, and in this video I will be doing a coverage of the Firebats Witch Doctor build for Diablo 3 in Season 15. This is about mid-season, so we have about a month and a half or so left. I know Season 15 ends about December, so I'll be going over all the gear, the skills, and your legendary gems, and giving you guys an idea of how Firebats builds. So, going into the boards here for Diablo 3 on Xbox, I've gone through all the builds on here, and it looks like Witch Doctor is pretty clear of any kind of, the usual stuff I try to avoid. So, the Firebats Witch Doctor build, which is a fun, but uh, it's a hard one to do, as you guys can tell. There's very few people that even push over GR 100 with this build, so it's not a high climbing build, but it's a fun one to run. So starting off, your weapon will be the Sacred Harvester with damage, intel, vite, critical hit damage, and intelligence as your augment effect. The Sacred Harvester has an effect that Soul Harvest now stacks up to 10 times. You'll also be having the 133 maximum mana for Witch Doctor with your Emerald socketed on there. And then for the set, you'll be running the Arachir, and forgive me if I butcher these words. I don't take the time to figure out how they're pronounced. I just say them. So you guys know what I mean. It's right there. So with the 2-set bonus with this build, you'll be getting Summon a Permanent Spider Queen who leaves behind behind webs that deal 4,000 weapon damage, 4,000% weapon damage over 5 seconds and slows enemies. The Spider Queen is commanded to move to where you cast your corpse spiders. For the 4-piece set, Hex gains the effect of the Toad of Hugeness rune. After summoning a Toad of Hugeness, you gain 50% damage reduction and heal for 10% of your max life every second for 15 seconds. So total, you can heal up to 150% of your max health with that. Add a 6-sec bonus. The damage of your creature skills is increased by 4,500%. Creature skills are Corpse Spiders, Plague of Toads, Firebats, Locust Swarm, Hex, and Piranhas. Now, the ones that this will mainly affect will be Firebats and Hex. For your gloves, you'll be looking for Intel, Crit Hit Damage, Crit Hit Chance, and Intel for your Augment. You'll also have Area Damage on Hit with that as well. For your shoulders, Intel, Vite, Resist All Elements, Intel as your Augment, and Chance to deal 20% area damage on Hit, which area damage is one of your primary secondary stats for your gears that you'll probably be re-rolling quite a bit. For the chest, Intel, Vite, Armor, Intel as your augment, and you will have Topaz augmented in there, or not augmented but socketed. I think those are Topaz. Forgive me. I always forget the gemstone names. I have like Emerald and all that stuff memorized, but you'll have an Amethyst in your helmet. You'll be having Intel, Life, Crit Hit Chance, Intel as your augment, and Firebat's damage for your reroll. This set also runs the Traveler's Pledge with the Compass Rose, which, as usual, the Traveler's Pledge, while moving, damage taken is reduced by up to 50%, and while you're standing still, damage dealt is increased by up to 100%. Your stats will be looking like Fire Skill damage, Intel, Crit Hit damage, and you'll more than likely be augmenting that for Intel as well. I know there's some different variations that people like to try, so your legendary gem that is socketed into this is Esoteric Alteration. You gain 60% non-physical damage reduction, and while below 50% life, your resistances to cold, fire, lightning, poison, and arcane are increased by 75%. For your bracers, Lakumba's Ornament, I believe I said that right. Fire skill damage, Intel, Vite, Crit Hit Chance, Intel as your augment. And those reduce all damage taken by 6% for each stack of Soul Harvest you have. These are, we'll get into the stacks here in a little bit. For your offhand, you'll have Vile Hive, damage, intel, crit hit chance. Intel is the augment, and that makes it where Locust Swarm gains the effect of the Pestilence rune and deals 55% increased damage. You'll also have 20% area damage on that, as well as Firebats if possible. Your ring is a little bit different. I'm used to having a convention of elements on here, but I believe that's... No, actually, this build has changed a little bit since the last time I ran it. But this one runs Ring of Emptiness. Damage, crit hit chance, and intel for your augment. Reduces the control of... reduces duration of control effects by 40%. That could be pretty useful as your secondary, but as rings go and how hard it is to get a good one, you just kind of take what you get if it's better than what your last one was. You'll be running a Bane of the Trapped as your augmented gem on here. Or not augmented gem, forgive me. Your socketed gem. That increases damage against enemies under the effects of control and parrying effects by 52% at a rank 125. Gain an aura that reduces the movement speed of enemies within 15 yards by 30%, and you deal 300% increased damage to enemies affected by both your Haunt and Locust Swarm. And for the Compass Rose, you'll have Dex, crit hit damage, and crit hit chance, with a Tyguck in there. Gain 7% increased damage for 1.5 seconds when you spend resource on a channeled skill. This effect stacks up to 10 times, so 10 times 7%. And you gain 2% increased armor for every stack, so 20% increased armor with a full stack. You also have reduced resource cost on that as well. Going over to the boots, you'll have Intel, Vite, Armor, Intel as your augment, and Firebats damage on that. Your pants will have Intel, Vite, Armor, Intel as your augment, and the other two and can be whatever it rolls. You're mostly looking for survivability as usual on your pants and belt and stuff like that. Speaking to the belt, we have Bakuli Jungle Wraps. Intel, Vite, resist all elements, armor, intel is the augment, and that makes it where Firebats deals 282% increased damage to enemies affected by Locust Swarm or Piranhas. Now I believe that stat can go up to a maximum of 300%, so that's a little bit of a jump there missing, but so far, I mean, this is the highest climbing person, so. Moving over to the skills, we have Haunt and Draining Spirit, Firebats with Cloud of Bats on it, Spirit Walk, Honored Guest, Soul Harvest, Languish, Locust Swarm, Cloud of Insects, Hex with Jinx, and then for your passives, Swampland Attunement, Confidence Ritual, Creeping Death, and Grave Injustice. Now for your cubed items, which will stick to the usual, where you can alternate one of these out for one of your equipped pieces of gear. So for the Ring of Emptiness or your Sacred Harvester, you could swap those out with your cubed items. Same thing with the Mantle of Channeling. So your staff, Firebats attacks 100% faster, costs 75% less mana, and has its damage increased by 150%. Mantle of Channeling, while channeling Whirlwind, Rapid Fire, Strafe, Tempest, Rush, Firebats, Arcane Torrent, Disintegrate, or Ray of Frost, you deal 25% increased damage and take 25% reduced damage. And with Unity as your ring, all damage taken is split between wearers of this item. That is usually with solo running, if you put that on your companion, so you'll more than likely be running a Unity on your companion as well, or if you're doing a group one, you'll have someone else will be wearing that as well. All depends on how you're running. Now just to go through and check and see if there's any alternate versions of this. Still, there is an alternate Unity as your equipped one this person has, with a pain enhancer instead. Critical hits cause the enemy to bleed for 9,000% weapon damage as physical over 3 seconds. All damage taken is split between the wearers of this item. That's the Unity effect. And gain Blood Frenzy, granting you 3% increased attack speed for each bleeding enemy within 20 yards. Everything else under equipment looks to be the same. They have amethysts in their chest piece instead, and in their pants. And an emerald in the weapon for area damage. Or no, for the maximum mana. Never mind. Forget that. Skills are still the same, just in different slots. Graven Justice. So this is pretty much the same. He just has a couple of things swapped out. Same, like I mentioned, you can alternate your cubed items. Go down here. Tyguk, Esoteric Alteration, Bane of the Trapped. And this person is running Topaz in theirs as well. So this is a different passive I'm seeing here for Spirit Vessel. And I'm not sure if Poison Spirit was on there or not. Okay, yeah, Poison Spirit's still the same. Other than that, it looks like the build is pretty straightforward. This person's running Piranha Auto. Okay, yeah, so this is what I was talking about. This guy's running Convention of Elements. He has a Furnace as his cubed item, which is a little bit different, but I can see why he's doing it because of the elite damage, which probably is helping him kill the Rift Guardian or Elite Pack Hunt. And with the Quetzal coat, that makes Locust Swarm and Haunt now deal their damage in half of the normal duration. We have the Trap, Stricken, Esoteric. This guy's got... Okay, this is why. He's not running what I thought he was. He's doing the Piranha version of the Firebats. So, never mind. Ignore those last few things when I went to that one. But, okay, yeah, that's a different build. So yeah, there's a couple of builds in the top board for Witch Doctor at the moment in Season 15, but so far Firebats is leading by quite a few rifts. Looks about a 5 rift level difference, so you might want to stick with Firebats for the moment, unless you are trying something else, but this is the build so far. So I think that's all there is that I had to look into. If you guys have any questions, you can leave me a comment down below with any suggestions as well. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell if you'd like to be notified when I upload new videos, and I'll keep you guys updated throughout the rest of the season and moving into next season. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.